Hello, Adelistas. So today we are going to read Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, okay? So I'm going to put music on, okay? And it says that it's from the Goblet of Fire. So it's going to be fun, huh? All right, so we stop on page 198. So I'm going to read only 4 pages a day, all right? So let's start. Well, okay. So we kind of like stop where, Malfoy was not super happy about taking care of this. And they were like doing the pus, remember? Oh, it was so gross. And then we talk about Harry did not like the divination classes. And we know why, because, Professor Trelawney keep saying the way that he was going to die. I wouldn't like that either at all. I think that I wouldn't like it. All right, let's see. Well, at least the Scroots are small, said Ron, as they made their way back up to the castle for lunch an hour later. They are now, said Hermione in an exasperated voice. But once Hagrid's found out what they eat, I expect they'll be 6 feet long. Well, that won't matter if they turn out to cure seasickness or something, will it? Said Ron, grinning slightly at her. You know perfectly well I only said that to shut Malfoy up. Okay. Where am I? There we go, said Hermione. As a matter of fact, I think he's right. The best thing to do would be to stamp on the lot of them before they start attacking us all. They sat down at the Gryffindor table and helped themselves to lamb chops and potatoes. Hermione began to eat so fast that Harry and Ron stared at her. Probably she was like gobbling, huh? Is this the new stand on elves, right? Said Ron. You're going to make yourself puke instead. No, said Hermione, with as much dignity as she could muster with her mouth bulging with sprouts. I just want to get to the library. What? Said Ron in disbelief. Hermione, it's the first day back. We haven't even got homework yet. Hermione shrugged and continued to shovel down her food, as though she had not eaten for days. Then she leapt to her feet, said, See you at dinner, and departed at high speed. Hermione's pretty smart. They don't even have homework, but there she is. She's going to the library. I like Hermione. That's why I love Hermione. When the bell rang to signal the start of afternoon lesson, Harry and Ron set off with North Tower, where at the top of a tightly spiraling staircase, a silver stapler led to a circular trapdoor in the ceiling, in the room where Professor Trelawney lived. The familiar sweet perfume spreading from the fire met their nostrils as they emerged at the top of the step ladder. As ever, the curtains were all closed. The circular room was bathed in a dim reddish light cast by the many lamps, which were all draped with scarf and shawls. Do you see these descriptive words? Okay. Harry and Ron walked through the mass of occupied chairs and puffs that cluttered the room and sat down at the same small circular table. Good day, said the misty voice of Professor Trelawney, right behind Harry, making him jump. A very thin woman with enormous glasses that made her eyes appear far too large for her face. Professor Trelawney was peering down at Harry with a tragic expression she always wore whenever she saw him. The usual large amount of beads, chains, and bangles glitter up her person in the firelight. Thanks to those descriptive words, I am imagining her right now. You are preoccupied, my dear, she said mournfully to Harry. My inner eye sees past your brave face to the troubled soul within, and I regret to say that your worries are not baseless. I see difficult times ahead for you. Alice, most difficult. I fear the things you dread will indeed come to pass, and perhaps sooner than you think. Her voice dropped almost to a whisper. Ron rolled his eyes at Harry, who looked stunnedly back. Professor Trelawney swept past them and seated herself in a large winged armchair before the fire, facing the class. Lavender Brown and Poverty Paddle, who deeply admire Professor Trelawney, were sitting on puffs, were very close to her. "My dears, it is time for us to consider the stars," she said, "the movements of the planets, and the mysterious portents they reveal only to those who understand the steps of the celestial dance. Human destiny may be deciphered by the planetary rays which intermingle." But Harry's thoughts had drift. The perfumed fire always made him feel sleepy in dull wheedle. And Professor Trelawney's rambling talks on fortune-telling never helped him exactly spellbound, though he couldn't help thinking about what she had just said to him. "I fear that things you dread will indeed come to pass." But Hermione was right. Harry thought irritably, Professor Trelawney really wasn't all fraud. He wasn't dreading anything at the moment at all. Well, unless you counted his fears that Sirius had been caught. But what did Professor Trelawney know? He had only since come to the conclusion that her brand of fortune teller was really no more than lucky guesswork. In a spooky matter. Except, of course, for that time at the end of last term when she had made the prediction about Voldemort rising again. And Dumbledore himself has said that he thought that trends had been genuine when Harry had described it to him. Harry, Ron murmured. "What?" Harry looked around. The whole class was staring at him. He sat up straight. He had been almost dozing off. Some of your classmates do that in the classroom for sure. Lost in the heat in his thoughts. "I was saying, my dear, that you were clearly born under baleful influence of Saturn, said Professor Trelawney, a faint note of resentment in her voice at the fact that he had obviously not been hanging on her words. "Born under what?" said Harry. "Saturn, my dear. The planet Saturn," said Professor Trelawney, sounding definitely irritated that he wasn't reverted by this news. "I was saying that Saturn was surely in a position of power in the heavens at the moment of your birth. Your dark hair, your mean stature, tragic losses so young in life. I think I am right in saying, my dear, that you were born in midwinter?" "No," said Harry. Harry was not born in midwinter. "No," said Harry. "I was born in July." Ron hastily turned his laugh into a hackling cough. Half an hour later, each of them had been given a complicated circular chart and was attempting to fill in the position of the planets at their moment of birth. It was dual work, requiring much consultation of timetables and calculation of angles. "I've got 2 Neptunes here," said Harry after a while, frowning down at his piece of parchment. "That can be right, can I?" "Ah," said Ron, imitating Professor Trelawney's mystical whisper. "When 2 Neptunes appear in the sky, it is a sure sign that a midget in glasses is being born, Harry." That's funny. See, miss, this is why you have to have a friend with a good sense of humor. Even if you're having a really, really awful day, you need a good friend like Ron. I love Ron. Seamus and Dean, who were working nearby, sniggered loudly, though not loudly enough to mask the excited squeals from Lavender Brown. "Oh, Professor, look. I think I've got an unexpected planet." "Ooh, which one's that, Professor?" "It is Uranus, my dear," said Professor Trelawney, peering down at the chart. "Can I have a look at Uranus too, Lavender?" said Ron. Most unfortunately, Professor Trelawney heard him, and it was this, perhaps, that made her give them so much homework at the end of the class. "A detailed analysis of the way the planetary movements in the coming month will affect you. with reference to your personal chart, she snapped, sounding much more like Professor McGonagall than her usually air-fairy self. I want it ready to hand in next Monday and no excuses. This is why you don't mess around with teachers. Miserable old bat, said Ron bitterly as they joined the crowds descending the staircase back to the great hall in dinner. That'll take all weekend. That will, lots of homework, said Hermione brightly, catching up with them. Professor Vector didn't give us any at all. Well, bully for Professor Vector, said Ron moodily. They reached the entrance hall, which was packed with people coining for dinner. They had just joined the end of the line when a loud voice round at behind them.
Restrictions apply.
Sorry, guys. Okay, right down behind them. Weasley! Hey, Weasley! Harry, Ron, and Hermione turned. Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle were standing there, each looking thoroughly pleased about something. What? Said Ron shortly. Your dad's is in the paper, Weasley, said Malfoy, brandishing a copy of the Daily Prophet and speaking very loudly so that everyone in the packed entrance hall could hear. Listen to this. I wonder. But that's the end of page 202. So stay tuned. So this is the reading for Monday. All right, guys?